Hey friends, welcome back to another history episode. Today we are knowing about the great revolution of a country, which introduced the importance of the socialism and people's rule to this world. It is the Russian Revolution. Let's get started.
Russia was ruled by tsars, emperors, in early 20th century. It was a vast area of land spread over two continents, Europe and Asia. Therefore it had been called a Euro-Asian power. It had the third largest population in the world, viz. 156 million, after China and India. It comprised of several nations like Russia, Ukraine, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, etc. The livelihood of most Russians came from agriculture. Often there were struggles between peasants and feudal lords for control over land. The feudal lords owned most of the lands and most peasants paid rent for the land they tilled. Tsar Nicholas II ruled over his vast Russian empire with the help of the army and bureaucracy. But the Russian economy had suffered a lot by the First World War. The Russian army was the largest in the world before World War I. Yet, by 1917, Russia had lost the lives of 2 million soldiers and civilians. It became the biggest loser of human lives in World War I. A large amount of food was supplied to the war front during the war. This led to the shortage of food in the cities. On March 8, 1917, around 10,000 women of the capital St. Petersburg took out a procession demanding peace and bread. Workers also joined them in this protest. Tsar Nicholas II was really upset by these protests. He ordered the army to suppress the demonstrators, even by firing at them. Instead, the soldiers also joined the demonstrators. In just 2 days, the situation became so bad that the Tsar left his throne and escaped. Russians made a provisional government. This was the first Russian Revolution of 1917 and it was called as the March Revolution. A bigger revolution took place later in October 1917 and it was not spontaneous. The liberals and aristocrats ruled Russia after the abdication of the Tsar. They decided to continue the war to save the honor of Russia. The common people were tired of the military action and economic shortage and did not want the war. They began organizing themselves in councils which were called Soviets. These Soviets of soldiers, industrial workers, and people in rural areas were united by a group of Russian Communist Party called Bolsheviks. These groups represented the common people's power. Vladimir Lenin, 1870 to 1924, was the leader of the Bolsheviks. Bolsheviks were able to get the support of the Soviets because they demanded for immediate and unconditional peace. They also demanded that all the land should be nationalized and redistributed to the peasants. Bolsheviks wanted control over prices and nationalization of all factories and banks. The Soviets under the Bolshevik leadership seized power from the provisional government in October-November 1917. They immediately took steps to end the war and redistributed land. Russia could not return to complete peace because a civil war was started. This war was led by white armies of Russian monarchists and anti-communist soldiers with help from Britain, France, USA, and Japan. They were all defeated by 1920. The Bolsheviks also announced the end of the Russian Empire and permitted the various nations under it to become independent. However, gradually most of the nations that came under the empire of the Tsar agreed to join the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR, which was set up by the Soviet government of Russia in 1922. This started a great experiment of building a country without exploiters like feudal lords, kings or capitalists. The USSR tried to build a society that was industrialist and modern and yet did not have inequality or exclusion of people on the basis of birth, gender, language, etc. Rise of Stalin. After the death of Lenin in 1924, Stalin emerged as the leader of the Communist Party. Over the next decades, he established his absolute control and put an end to all opposition. He used his undisputed power to build the economy of USSR. USSR began a program of planned economic development, with its 5-year plans, in 1928. This program had a twin policy of fast industrialization and collectivization of agriculture.